Hello and welcome to a new series I'll be creating where I explore some of the locations and lore of Black Desert Online. In this video I'll be exploring Olvia. Located in the territory of Western Balanos, Olvia is the first town the player will get to see when they first start the game. Upon waking up, the player is greeted by the Black Spirit, who briefly explains the basic gameplay mechanics through a series of tutorials and short quests. One of the first things we have to do is find someone called a Can. So heading towards the town, NANI?! Ignoring the floating musk bison, we can continue on through town, passing two NPCs here on the left. One is Lolly, the trade manager, and the other is Lots. And opposite them across the road is Curtis, the blacksmith. We'll come back and talk to many of the NPCs later on. Continuing on, just a short run up the road is a gun.
These potions, they have a good scent.
And as he says, he sells a variety of health potions as well as mana potions for each of the classes in the game.
I have goods that are made of high quality herbs.
He gives us some useful information here, telling us that we're not the only ones who have been suffering from amnesia, and that he's treated other adventurers. After talking with him and perhaps stocking up on some more potions, he tells us that the town's skill instructor Bunt will be able to help us further on our journey.
Olvia is protected by us, the vigilantes.
It's here that we learn that Olvia doesn't have an official guard, and that the town is protected by vigilantes. Here we can see the training of youngsters taking place. Here we enter another tutorial section where the player is taught a few basic skills and combos specific to their chosen class. Now as this tutorial is complete, the Black Spirit will want to talk to you again, giving your first quest to go and kill some stuff. Following these quests will take you out of Olvia, but we'll do a few of them and then come back just to finish the tutorial. Now I kind of skipped through the dialogue here a little bit too fast, but what he says is kind of important, so I'll read it out for you.
Wow, you already look like quite a fighter. Do you think you've started to remember things? Now that you've got that feeling back, you just need to practice. Do you remember that underground chamber I talked about? Let's practice fighting on our way there. First up, it would be good to practice with grass beetles. I've always hated them.
Now it's at this point that we get clues for one of our next destinations, the Stone Chamber. We'll get there eventually, but for now we'll just kill a few enemies and then head back into town. What's also interesting here is the Black Spirit hints that he knew us prior to the amnesia, and that we may have been a bit of a fighter in the past, begging the question, who were we before and how did we come to know the Black Spirit? Continuing this chain of quests will lead us to kill some weasels, some foxes, some wolves, and a few imps. With the tutorials out the way, a bit of experience under our belt and a few quests completed, we have a bit more time now to look around town. The first stop will be to talk to Corin and Boffin, who are located here on the map.
Hello, I'm Corin.
Corin is a jeweler and is a small selection of jewels available to purchase. To Corin's right we have Boffin. Talking to him we find that he's a seed vendor.
I don't think I've seen you around here. An adventurer, perhaps?
Now in Black Desert Online, talking to NPCs will sometimes grant knowledge. We can look at this by pressing the H key to read more into things. In this instance, we learn that Corin and Boffin are friends from Florin. Corin is bored because he hasn't found anything to do that captures his interests yet. However, the villagers of Olvia assume that Boffin and Corin aren't and simply cannot be bored because they talk and talk all day long. Reading the knowledge we get from Boffin, we find that they came to Olvia because they found life in Florin too boring. However, they also found that there's not much to do in Olvia, and we find that Boffin has been trying to keep a cat, but it's been running away from him.
Don't bully me.
Next to these two is the storage keeper Malcolm. Talking with him allows us to store items and silver, which can be taken out by other characters in our family. So taking advantage of this, I put on a sailing costume, which is slightly more suited to exploring, I guess. So we'll be wearing that from now on. We find that Malcolm settled down in Olvia through an introduction by Igor Bartali and wanted to put his meticulous nature to work as a storage keeper. He manages a storage center worthy of Olvia's size. Our next stop is marked here on the map. A little way down the road to the north we see Lolly and Lots again. Lolly is the trade manager for Olvia. We can purchase trade goods and sell any trade items we may have acquired.
My name is Lolly.
The knowledge we gain from her tells us that, contrary to her appearance, she is a cunning merchant who is never on the losing end of a deal. Every piece of information she gives to adventurers starts with the phrase, "This is a secret," but it rarely ever is. Her information is usually only helpful to new traders. To the right of Lolly we find Lots, the Imperial craft delivery manager in Olvia. Here we can deliver Imperial craft goods and gain a little more information about him. We learn that he is the eldest son of the Pavarotti family. Lots is managing the delivery of Imperial trade goods under an official permission from Calphion. He does not express it much, but he secretly wants to move back to Calphion. Maybe he too has trouble finding things to keep himself busy with in Olvia.
Hey, it's my first time seeing you. Wanna go have a drink?
Across the road, perched on a wooden chair, is Curtis the blacksmith, who seems to love a good drink. Talking to him, we can purchase a few basic armor pieces or repair our gear. Once we meet him, we gain the knowledge that Curtis puts most of his effort into training a successor, rather than doing the work himself. He constantly inspects the hands of apprentice blacksmiths with his fierce eyes. Still, he does repair the equipment of adventurers himself and sometimes makes superb swords. Heading up the steps behind Curtis, we hear the sweet tasty jams being played by a child called Flute Boy. I wondered if there was more to this, so I tried to find some more information. Supposedly, people gather around to reminisce about unfortunate things.
Could it be that he met a pretty woman in Heidel? When I listen to the mournful tune, I think of the man and his return with success.
Heading across the road again and up some steps,
You need workers. You found the right place then.
we come to the work manager, Cafu. From her, we can acquire workers or register workers to the market. We also have an option to obtain a flute from her for 1 contribution point. And to her left is Worcester.
So, it's your first time here? Take a look around.
He's Olvia's furniture vendor, and we can purchase 2 pieces of furniture. Looking at the new knowledge we've gained, we see that Cafu is a member of the Vigilantes in Olvia. She's positioned as a manager of the workers. She was strongly inspired when she saw Captain Cliff during his survey of Western Guard Camp. From that day onward, she's been going around acting like a captain. And we see that Worcester dozes off all the time. It is unclear whether he is easygoing or just lazy, but once he makes up his mind to make furniture, you can expect a quality product in no time. The next person we'll meet is Sadie, the town's material vendor. From her we can purchase gathering tools. She's located here on the map.
No tools are necessary for harvesting grains.
Referring to our knowledge, we see that Sadie is a celebrity in Olvia. She is cheerful and caring, but not quite at the level of most human women. It's just that other shy females are so rude that she seems a treat to be around in comparison. On the other side of the well is Lacey,
Hello there, customer.
another merchant here in Olvia. We learn that, unlike any other shy, Lacey is kind of greedy. She always wanted to be wealthy, so she put her talents to selling fine products for a profit. She doesn't even mind travelling all the way to Calphion or Heidel to get decent merchandise. You may have gathered or already know that there are more races than just humans in the world of Black Desert Online. I will hopefully get to covering all the races in a dedicated video, but just to clear up any possible confusion now, the Shy are a race of small people who don't age in appearance beyond a certain point. Next up, we'll meet Nadia the Cook, stable keeper on the west side of Olvia, and brother to Chiara, who is also a stable keeper on the other side of town. Both of them allow us to access the horse marketplace and view our own horses if they are checked into the stables. We can take out and register horses to the marketplace as well, and recover any of our mount's stamina. Stable keepers also sell pet food, which is used to recover the stamina of any pets we may have. Pets are used to collect items and loot from things we defeat.
Animals that have 4 legs in Olvia are all managed by me.
On the other side of town we meet Chiara, and we also see another family member here next to her, James Cook.
It's getting serious.
Once we finish talking to them, we can look at our knowledge. The famous brother and sister duo, the Coops. They are the most well-known stable keepers in the town of Olvia. The older brother, Nadia, always works hard to maintain the trust of his sister. we learn that Nodmir is a member of the Olvia Vigilantes. Although there is not much to do in Olvia, Kiara always puts a lot of effort into her stable work. She is said to be very friendly, as long as you don't bring up marriage around her.
Olvia.
Next stop is Nadia the Cook, marked here on the map. Entering the building here, we see her spooning heaping mounds of butter-grilled potatoes into the bowl of a customer. We see a lot of other people here. Behind the counter at the back, there are 2 people washing up, and the others sitting around enjoying the food and atmosphere.
Do you have a bite of butter-grilled potatoes?
From Nadia we can buy cooking ingredients and utensils. And wowee, would you take a look at the jiggle physics on that food.
Butter-grilled potatoes?
Checking back in on our knowledge, we learn that Nadia is the last surviving member of the fallen Rowan family of Heidel. She was a rootless wanderer until she went to Velia. She learned cooking from David Finto, and now she lives in Olvia. She feels happy when people eat her food and respond with smiles of enjoyment. Moving back outside again to the location marked here, we meet Giulietta.
Hello, do you need potions?
Similar to Akan who we met earlier, we can purchase potions from her. Turns out she's a potion vendor from Florin, who always has useful supplies for adventurers. Giulietta spends most of her idle time deliberating over how to make a fool of townspeople or visitors from the outside, and she only appears to be very kind-hearted at first sight. There is a third general goods vendor here in Olvia called Bioneer. We can meet her at this location.
What do you say to a potion full of herbal scent?
Bioneer came from the herb town Florin. She sells a variety of potions and teaches recipes to townspeople. She appears a bit cold at first, but she is actually very polite and has become fast friends with both local residents and adventurers alike.
Beautiful people are called spotted deers. It's a joke hard to understand.
Just like any other general goods vendor, we can purchase health potions and mana potions from her. The next 3 people we are going to meet are found on the outskirts of Olvia. We'll start with Grey, who is to the east of Olvia in Castor Farm. Grey is an Elianian priest who came to this island to spread the faith. She is so passionate about Elianism that she was more than willing to come to the secluded place where nobody else volunteered.
Shall we sing the hymn together?
Most villagers feel comfortable telling her about their problems as she is kind and a good listener.
The town never loses its laughter. It truly is the grace of Lord Elion.
Heading to the north of Olvia, we'll meet Whale, located on Whale Farm. He is a lazy chicken expert and functions as a material vendor, allowing us to purchase all manner of gathering tools.
Should I just pack up and go to Velia?
We learn that unlike his diligent father, Whale is very lazy and always blames others. It's not that he's a bad person, he just grew up in an affluent environment thanks to his father and feels a bit entitled.
If you could get to Velia, check if there's space for me to do business.
Although he hates farming in general, he loves taking care of chickens. Moving further north towards the coast, we meet Kirio, one of the rarely seen female otters, and known to be somewhat prudish.
Mistaking a sea otter so elegant as me for an otter. Hold on, you're not asking me out, are you?
We're able to buy a fishing rod from her, and she offers some other nautical items. Typical of her kind, she is an expert swimmer and diver, yet she seldom has to fish for herself, with all the male otters giving their fish to her in an attempt at courtship. We learn she has a friend called Creo, who lives in Velia.
Mistaking a sea otter so elegant as me for an otter.
Moving swiftly onwards, we'll head south back towards town to speak with Croxus, another skill instructor here in Olvia. He seems to have been a famous adventurer when he was young. According to his drunk talk, he once travelled far enough to visit Medea, but he never mentions the past when he is sober. He draws on his excellent combat skills to teach the youngsters in the Vigilantes.
There's nothing more honest than the body. Keep training.
Next stop, Baldos, the guild manager here in Olvia. Talking to him allows us to set up a guild or purchase guild items if we are guild leader or officer. Though a goblin, he gained people's trust by painstakingly handling the tasks put before him.
This is Olvia.
He ended up managing the guild in Olvia after showing his ability to deal with the complicated and sensitive aspects of such work.
Goblins are clever. neglecting us comes at a price.
If you've talked to all the NPCs I've covered so far in this video, you will have completed your knowledge for the people of Western Balanos, residents of Olvia and Olvia merchant categories. In doing so, gained an additional 4 energy, so congrats! Now some of the people around where we meet Baldos will be showing up at various other locations as we progress through the story. Orwin and Aiden here will show up numerous times along with a few other characters, and have a large role to play in the events unfolding in the world. It's also here where we meet the man in charge of the Balanos region, Igor Bartali.
I've never seen you before. Are you from another region?
Interestingly, Olvia used to be the capital of the Kingdom of Balanos, and in the past, the town, together with Calphion, Keplan, and Heidel, formed a military alliance to wage war against Valencia in the year 235.
Come to the right place. There are 3 skill instructors here.
Olvia is well known for its thriving livestock and agricultural industries. Crop farming and beekeeping were originally the main sources of income for this village, but after trade began with Florin, herb farming and alchemy also became common trades. We saw this earlier when we met a lot of residents from Florin acting as potion vendors here in Olvia. As you've been watching, you may have noticed the presence of some guards here who aren't part of the vigilantes here in Olvia. That's because of recent events that have transpired. To investigate further, we can head back to the storage area, near to where the skill instructor Bunt is. Heading behind him through these arches leads us to some kind of storage area, where there is a large number of people standing around. Talking to the vigilantes and guards here, it informs us that there has been a thief stealing grain. Unfortunately, the vigilantes were unsuccessful in their efforts to identify and track down the thief, so soldiers from Western Guard Camp have come to aid them. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in Olvia. For example, outside the training yard is a guy called Kabiro, who's charging 20 silver for a ride on a musk bison. Sadly, we don't have an option to take this offer up. Elsewhere in town, we find a bunch of kids hatching a plan to cause some mischief for the elders.
Let's give the whole town a little shake, shall we? Time to play with the elders. Let's surprise them.
After some more running around, I found that one of the skill instructors has a short cutscene for us, and had something rather funny to say to me afterwards. He can be found here.
This kid, absolutely pathetic. You're gonna throw your shoulders out if you keep swinging like that. What's important in real combat is how long you can wield your sword. Use your skill, not force.
That's my 580th knockdown.
579th, kid. Make it to 1,000, and then I'll let you try my sword.
Oh yeah? Well, you better keep your word.
You doubt me?
You there, what is your name? Shout it out. The name isn't important. I'll call you Small Hero. Though you don't look fully matured, I must say your eyes look alive.
Really, dude? With that, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thanks for sticking with me and meeting the people of Olvia. I hope this has been informative and you've learned something you might not have known before. In this video, I compiled my research on Olvia from a variety of sources, in-game and external, which I will link to in the description. Please let me know if you enjoy watching content like this, as this was a really fun video to make. I would be really happy to continue exploring new locations and topics regarding Black Desert Online. Alrighty, take it away, Flute Boy.
When I listened to
This pathetic kid.